What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to your stimulus check update, stimulus package and infrastructure update, and daily news report for Saturday, August 14th. Hopefully you guys have an incredible weekend, but let's get to the update for today. First, I want to just bring this to your attention that a lot of lawmakers are not just fighting over that $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill that they're currently working on now, but many lawmakers, specifically representatives in the House, are complaining about wasteful spending. There's a lot of discussions about wasteful spending within both bills. The first one, the $1.2 trillion bill, many lawmakers are saying that there's so much wasteful spending, they are worried that if they pass the $1.2 trillion bill, it's just going to mean that lawmakers are going to replicate the same mistakes. We're going to see wasteful spending in that $3.5 trillion bill, and wasteful spending there is going to be detrimental to the American people, the economy, and our children who are going to have to pay back this money. So here's what we know. Right now, this wasteful spending is causing some to question whether we have the right people making the decisions. Now, the people that are usually questioning this are mostly Republicans when Democrats have control, or Democrats when Republicans have control. Well, now we're seeing that some are questioning it no matter what. Here's what we know. Right now, conservative groups are saying that yes, there's too much wasteful spending in this bill. And they are worried and frustrated with Republicans who supported this $1.2 trillion infrastructure package. Many of these same groups are outright just worried that this is going to happen again in that $3.5 trillion bill. And I can tell you right now, okay, whether it does or not, it's always going to be a worry, is what in these packages was wasteful? What in these packages did we not need at this time? Some say there's so much just wasteful spending that if lawmakers would sit down and really look at what was being included and stop trying to win over certain lawmakers to try to get their votes, we could see a bill that actually does more to the American people and the economy than any bill we've ever seen or passed in the history. But again, I don't think that's ever going to happen. What we know right now is some experts are saying that spending $3.5 trillion and seeing additional wasteful spending is only going to cause the federal deficit to run wild. And if it does, we can pretty much disregard any talks of additional relief to the American people. That's not good. That is not good. One of the main reasons why. The American people need money. We need assistance. We need help. The legislation that has passed in the past 8 months, it's done very little to many Americans because rental assistance is still so slow to get out. The unemployment, that's going to expire in less than a month. We know the eviction moratorium has technically been extended until October 3rd. However, some worry that this could ultimately get pulled because judges have ruled that this is not legal. So there's a lot of issues. Some of these conservative groups are saying that the money is spread out too thin, it's spread out over too many priorities, and it ultimately will not benefit the economy. Well, for a bill that is supposed to benefit the economy, and now conservative groups are saying no, the money is just too spread out and it's not enough, then this has a lot of people worried. Both of these packages are going to have a similar approach. And this is why many oppose these bills at this time. Many inside the House do not support the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill because, and they're mostly Democrats and progressives, but they are saying that this is not enough. And this is exactly what many of these conservative groups are saying. And they're conservatives, but they're saying it's not enough. We're spreading the money over too many priorities. We either need to take the exact same amount, the $1.2 trillion, and prioritize certain things, or increase the funding and cover all the different priorities. Just understand, there's only $110 billion for roads and bridges. But yet, both parties, Republicans and Democrats, are calling this a bipartisan infrastructure bill. when the hard infrastructure, the roads and bridges, are only seeing $110 billion, but yet it's a $1.2 trillion bill? So less than 10% is going to hard infrastructure and roads and bridges? That's where some are saying that this isn't right. We're not seeing the money spent the way it should be, and it's wasteful spending. Now, many of these groups are criticizing the handouts that were also had in this $1.2 trillion bill, and some are saying that they want the House of Representatives to simply reject the bill. This is exactly what AOC said before, or actually about a few weeks ago, was that the House of Representatives and progressives would tank the bill if their priorities were not included, and if the bill, the $1.2 trillion bill, didn't coincide with the $3.5 trillion bill. Well, according to many, they're saying that $250 million went to fight the spread of weeds alongside railroads and highways. But according to one expert, he says that a crumbling road that has no weeds next to it won't look any better than one with a few weeds if it's a crumbling road, which is true. And let me know your thoughts on this down in the comment section below as well. We also saw that there's $2 million to support bees, but bees are not endangered. So someone know why we're spending $2 million. There's another $50 million for a pilot program just to evaluate what a mileage tax would do to the economy and the American people. But one expert says that instead of evaluating what a mileage tax might do and spend $50 million on it, let's just not increase the tax. Let's use the $50 million in savings and make it easier to fund the bill. Well, that seems just too simple. And then we see $1 billion going to the Appalachian Regional Commission. This is run by Senator Joe Manchin's wife. And just to give you an idea, Senator Joe Manchin was originally opposed to the $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill until reports indicate that he received, or Joe Manchin's wife received, a $1 billion fund. Well, that makes it very hard to say no to. So, lawmakers were able to find the money when it was acceptable to them. When they knew they were going to get something out of it, they found the money. They found a way to pay for it and fully fund the bill. Well, many economists are saying that the $1,400 stimulus checks should be fully funded. The $1,400 stimulus checks were the reason for the economic recovery. If more $1,400 stimulus checks are called on to help stabilize the American people, then they should be. They should pass. More people should be calling on this because the $1,400 stimulus checks helped out a ton. And let me ask you, what were you able to do with your $1,400 stimulus check? Just reading in the comments, and I asked many of you guys after the checks came out, probably the first couple weeks, are they lasting? What are you spending the money on? And how long did they last? Well, here's what I came back with. The $1,400 stimulus checks for most people here in this community lasted less than 1 week. Some, they lasted a little while, but the majority lasted less than 1 week. What were they spent on? Well, the majority of people said the money was spent on food, the money was spent on past bills, rent or mortgages, and just taking care of their children. Remember, this was all before the child tax credit payments even started. This was back in March? But we didn't start seeing the child tax credit payments until about a month ago in July. So there's a little bit of a gap. Now, one thing I can tell you is that more economists are saying that $1,400 stimulus checks are needed. That if we want to see a full economic recovery, we have to continue to distribute stimulus to the American people. But yet, some are saying that if we continue with additional stimulus, we continue to support and print additional money, it's just going to cause a massive amount of inflation. We've already seen a massive amount of inflation. So some experts say instead of giving all this money to certain priorities and groups and certain legislation to fund so-called stimulus or infrastructure, let's give more back to the American people and let the American people decide what they do with it. One expert says that states, they have so much money, but yet they're not looking into providing better infrastructure in their state. They're looking on the federal government to provide all this. Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but what I can tell you is the discussions will continue. Now let's get into the actual employment crisis that has taken shape, not the unemployment. This is an employment crisis. Here's what we know. According to a few reports yesterday, too many Americans are taking on second and third jobs in order to pay back debts, get their old lives back, pay rent or their mortgage, and put more money back into savings. A lot of reports are indicating that the American people spent too much on credit cards. They sold some of their assets, whether they're stocks, real estate, even automobiles. They sold them early on in this pandemic in order to hopefully make it. Well, now these Americans are trying to get back the lives they once had. So because of this, here's the employment crisis. There are many people that have not just one job, possibly two jobs, or even three jobs. They're holding down 2 to 3 jobs. And what we are hearing is that when one person is holding 2 or 3 jobs, it's actually taking more jobs away from others who are looking for work. Now, just to give you an idea, what's happening is people are taking on one full-time job and maybe a second part-time or a third even part-time job, okay? Getting like 16 to 32 hours a week. That's fine. And that's great. As an entrepreneur, I would absolutely love somebody that does this. I love the fact that people are willing to put in the work, a little bit extra effort, even for 3 to 6 months to pad their bank accounts so that they have money, because money, it doesn't equal happiness. Money equals opportunity. And I've been saying this for years. If you have more money, you have more opportunities. That is it. That's all money provides, is the opportunity to do more, to do better, to provide for yourself and others. So here's what's happening. These people, instead of taking just one job, they get a full-time job, let's say 40 hours per week. They get a second part-time job, let's say an additional 20 hours per week. That puts them up to 60. They get a third part-time job. Okay, that puts them maybe another 20. So 80 hours per week they are working. That is great. The problem is when you take a part-time job, no matter where it is, you are normally taking that job away from somebody else. That is, maybe they are a parent and they only have, let's say, 20 hours of spare time per week. That creates an issue for the parent, the family, and the child. Well, what if you're taking that 20-hour shift away from somebody that is elderly? They can only work 20 hours. That's all they can really put in because they're too tired. Their body just can't handle it. Well, what happens there? You're taking 20 hours of income. Let's say you pay $10 an hour. That's $200 per week. Every single week, $800 per month that you are taking away from somebody that is elderly that could use that money. So that's what we're seeing, and that's the employment crisis at this time. Is some people are taking 2, 3, maybe even 4 different jobs. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing all these jobs are being taken, more jobs are coming back, but the unemployment issue is still there. That's the reason why. So if you guys have any questions on any of this stuff, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. I don't think I'm gonna do another video today, okay? I think I'm gonna try to scale it back on the weekend, spend a little more time with my family, especially leading up to, school is gonna be starting, my kids will be going back to school, so probably over the next couple of weeks, I might be scaling it back a little bit on weekends. We'll see tomorrow as well, but I just wanna thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have an incredible weekend, and I'll see you guys on the next one.